What's up, Fighting Irish Faithful? Here we go. Get ready. Get set. Let's go. It's time for Pitt-Parations. Preparing for Pitt. This is the Fighting Irish Faithful show, volume 108, season 4, episode 22, part of Leprechauns Media. And we're getting extreme here with the crazy late 80s rock and roll here. And it's probably inspired because we were watching Bill and Ted over the weekend. So thank you for joining us tonight everywhere that you get your podcasts or on the YouTube channel. Check us out, Dos Leprechauns and the Fighting Irish Faithful show. We're happy to make you a part of your game week. I don't know if that made sense, but we're here and we're going to talk about Pitt tonight. There's not a whole lot of statistics to break them down. They're not good. We are superior. Like the end shows up. No, I'm just kidding. But I do want to hear from you, the audience. We got 2 people on hold here, and we're gonna get to the people here first. But before we talk about Pitt, and hopefully I don't lose you guys on the space here, because I got a tweet here from a friend, and it was talking about some details related to USC. And I'm going to read this from start to finish here. Sorry to pile on, but my brain has really gone down the rabbit hole. Anyone else tired of hearing how good Caleb Williams is? Yes, he is talented, but we could make an argument that he's the most overrated player of the last 20 years. Look what's happened the last year. After losing to Utah, very important game for USC, he did come back and win his rivalry game to get into the Pac-12 championship, followed by a big crossover game against a ranked Notre Dame. Since that time, he's lost every game that mattered, got throttled by Utah in the Pac-12 championship, then lost to Tulane in the Cotton Bowl. Okay, some teams blow off bowls now. This year, he's played no ranked teams until Notre Dame. He's run the stats up against unranked opponents. The first ranked team he plays, he gets pounded by Notre Dame, playing his worst game yet as a Trojan. With the Pac-12 hanging in the balance, he loses to Utah at home and Utah playing with a ton of backups. Is that the Heisman winner? Not. I don't want to hear any more announcers making excuses for him. Many more players, very deserving. Good luck finishing out your season against Oregon, Washington, and your rivalry game with UCLA. He could easily lose 3 more times. That is from Ute Fan Faithful Group on Facebook that some of my Dos Leprechauns people chimed in on. So hopefully you guys on the space were able to hear that and it didn't just cut out on you guys. That is exactly how I've felt actually for a little while about USC, how their schedule has been trash. You could even make the same argument about Michigan, and I know we'll talk about them tonight. But with Caleb Williams, I mean, he did not show up against Notre Dame. He got smoked. Had many turnovers. It was not good. And then watching that Utah game was fan-frickin-tastic. I enjoyed myself so much. And I even tweeted out that USC left too much time on the clock, allowing Utah to come back and to drive the football down there. And USC fans, they thought they had won, right? Because they had more points on the scoreboard at that time. And then Utah kicks a field goal as time runs out to win the game. It was the most perfect way I could possibly imagine our bye week, watching USC just demolish. And what's best about it is it's 2 losses in a row, which is really, really bad in the psyche, in the mind of the voters, in the eye test. So Well, Red Snapper's on. He's back from retreat. Got Coach Parsegian. We got Mac. Coach Parsegian, we'll bring you on. Mac, we'll bring you guys on. We'll have kind of a roundtable discussion tonight as we lead into Pitt. But first, we can talk about USC if we want.
You got any PTSD coming up this week?
We have a little bit. I will touch about that, and we'll explain why. But yeah, prior to that, I kind of wanted to talk about USC. I want to start on a positive note before I get all anxious and awkward. Welcome back, Red Snapper. It was so funny. Like, I haven't. This has been a whole week since we podcasted last, right? You know, immediately after the USC game against us, and I had people messaging me like Friday or Saturday, like, "Hey, you doing a show tonight?" I'm like, "No, we're not playing." I mean, that's great that people want to hear the show.
It's a bye week for the team. It's a bye week for me.
It's a bye week for me. Yeah, it was great. You know, like nothing against you guys. You know, I love podcasting, but you know, I need to charge the battery too sometimes. You know,
which is exactly why I took the opportunity to go on a retreat this weekend and got a lot out of it. That's for sure.
Fantastic. That's good.
Went up to good old Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Beautiful. Not far from where Gonzaga is, actually.
No, not at all.
My dad would always call, you know, whatever bye week it was, he'd call it Pumpkin Patch Week.
That's awesome.
You go to the pumpkin patch and get your pumpkins.
Yeah. And Niners aren't playing. So.
Oh, man. Nothing to watch but baseball and USC lose. And it's weird. Like, either the bye week is the weekend of the Doc's birthday, or it's the USC week. You know, so it's kind of like, yeah, what are we doing for your birthday? Yeah, well, we're either going to a pumpkin patch or sometimes an apple orchard around here in Indy, or we're watching USC lose, hopefully, to Notre Dame. And they did it 2 weeks ago. It was great. So, but yeah, no, they lost to Utah. You know, maybe you guys don't want to talk about that. You know, I mean, I thought it was great. You know, I had all sorts of fun on Twitter just making fun of USC. But
and Lincoln Riley might be abandoning ship.
I've been hearing that rumor that he might go to the NFL or something crazy like that.
Yeah, but you know, you got to do something good to go to the NFL.
I guess.
But
I don't know.
I don't know. That if I'm a USC fan and I'm hearing that means that the coach I got does not want to be there long term, and you got to question how invested they are, which that's disappointing.
But you should have known that with how quick he jumped ship over to Oklahoma.
Yeah, so but he was. How long was he at Oklahoma? He was at Oklahoma for quite some time. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, being from the West Coast, I would always think USC is more of an important program than Oklahoma. Oklahoma's kind of like a stepping stone. But you know what? You're right. There's a little bit of
I think Oklahoma's done more as far as like within the perception of people's vision. You know, I mean, they're the ones going to SEC, not USC. They've been in the college football playoffs. I don't know how many times. You know, USC has never been there, and they will continue to. They will never be in the playoffs, at least in this format.
Let me rephrase. Like, if you live, I do not live in the LA area, but I have friends that live in the LA area. When USC is going, that is the sport. That is the team. They are more important than the Rams.
The Dodgers, if they are on, absolutely, it is blue, Central, and Los Angeles. There is no other color.
But they have Kershaw and Dave Roberts, so they'll keep choking.
Well, trust me, I've got my two. Dave Roberts, it'll be interesting to see what happens if he stays on. Kershaw, I think it's time he retires.
I think Dave Roberts
is just rubber.
Dave Roberts going to stay because the company, he'll do what the computer says.
So real quick, you were talking about Oklahoma. Oklahoma has been to the playoffs 4 times over these, past, this is now year 10, so the previous 9.
I don't know.
They've lost all 4 times.
There's something in my opinion that just makes USC more prestigious, very special. It's the LA culture. I don't know. I think it's more special than Oklahoma. But I'm also from the West Coast,
Yeah.
so I'm very biased.
I mean, I hate
And I'm a
USC,
big
so I
Pac-12.
really kind of want
And
to
I'm
ignore anything like that.
and I'm a big Pac-12 or former Pac-10, Pac-12 fan.
I mean, I
So
would say if we're just going to
No,
talk about the
as am I.
playoff era, and I'll throw it to Red Snapper. If we're just talking about the playoff era, right, the last 10 years, USC has been garbage, relatively compared to Oklahoma. Now, if we
Agreed.
want to go like historically, and then go back a couple years, the Pete Carroll years, or even go back to the 70s, okay, fine. Like maybe we got a different thing. But if I take a more recency bias, i.e. the last decade, which is kind of what I do on this show, talking about stats of national champions, Oklahoma has been more influential and a part of that. I mean, they almost made the playoffs 4 years in a row. They were there in 2015 and 2017. So they skipped 2016, but 17, 18, and 19, they were there all 3 years. Now they haven't been back since, but USC hasn't. So I'm just gonna go on a limb if I just go with and we could even go historical Sagarin, rankings over the last 10 years of where USC has been or whatever. But they've been all over the map with coaching changes, and they had a postseason ban. Like they had Kiffin as their coach at one point. Like they've been everywhere. And what's funny about that is about in that same amount of time, they probably have a similar record that Notre Dame does. So I don't know what that means, but
may I make one argument?
I know you will.
Where
So just go for it.
Where would you rather live and be rubbing shoulders with? Will Ferrell, Fleetwood Mac, and all these people, or being out in the middle of Norman, Oklahoma?
Probably Oklahoma.
Really? Okay, I'm sorry.
There's a reason why I don't live in LA now. I can't afford it.
Yeah, but I'm sure that the head coach of, USC can.
No, I hate that school.
Find a way.
No, fuck that. Out of principle, no. Now, if you're talking about UCLA and Brentwood, that's a different story. Okay, but we're talking about USC, so no, fuck that place. So maybe we don't want to.
Trust me, I am as Pac-10, Pac-12, fan as it gets.
Pac-2. You're a fan of Oregon State and Washington State now. The Pac-2.
Yeah, right.
What is even happening there?
Trust me, I want to see a team other than SC win the final season of the Pac-12. Growing up in the Pac-10 in its heyday, absolutely. So being the West Coast guy, still representing the West Coast, absolutely.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So I'm
kind
just
of pulling for Washington, actually.
And it's interesting, of all the teams that have made the college football playoffs here. It's funny because the playoffs don't even come out until next week. Washington's been there once, and Oregon's been there once. They're the only two teams from the Pac-12 that have made the playoffs. And Oregon, I guess, has done okay. They won one game and then lost. That was the year against Ohio State, right? So, so that they at least have a win. But yeah, they the only team that's basically that's batting 100 or 1,000, right? That's LSU. The one time they made it in 2019. So they got a good batting average. So.
Hey, Snapper.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question about Washington? Because I am rooting for Washington. It's a good little story there. Last time they made a traditional Rose Bowl had to be mid to late 90s, right?
Oh, gosh. Washington?
Yeah, it was like 96, 97, maybe 96.
That sounds about right.
I'd have to go do a lot more research on that one.
That's why I'm rooting for them. It's like you said, it's good to see new blood.
They used to historically be good. I mean, like it's in a nice, pretty area on the Puget Sound there, not far from Lake Washington, just north of downtown, right? So it's not a bad place. It is a good school, right? The Huskies used to be really good back in the day. If I had my freaking spreadsheet less populated. I could probably find it a lot faster, but no, there it is. The they share a national title in 1991 with Miami. Miami, they did well in 91. So did Washington. So yeah, I don't know. Don James was their coach at the time. Well, that's where we're at here with the West Coast representation here. Does anyone want to talk about Michigan and Spygate or whatever we're calling this thing? I know Coach Parsegian does.
Well, I will say that it is hilarious how quickly Michigan fans have jumped to be like, this is no big deal. This happens all the time in college football. Everybody does it. No, they don't.
No, they don't. No one's spying on Rutgers.
I've never heard of any kind, like Bill Belichick level sign stealing, like the Houston Astros to this level ever in the history of college football. This is insane, the amount of just blatant disregard for anything aside from just opening up the checkbook the way SEC teams used to do it all the time back then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is just insane just how Jim Harbaugh pretty much just said, do whatever you have to do.
Well, and what does it like? And I kind of wonder if they're like trying to like read between the lines of like what's allowed and what's not. But it's like, it's pretty obvious when this data starts coming out that, you've been, basically, doing things you probably shouldn't be doing. Whether it's quote unquote written down in rules, it still looks, silly and dirty. I would argue though that like Michigan doesn't even need to do that. Like in theory, like unless maybe they do, but it's like they have so much better talent than, most of the teams they play on their schedule. And it's like, you guys have played no one. I mean, yes, you're ranked number 1 in Sagarin, but that's because you're blowing teams out. But you have a strength of schedule of 73. Georgia's 94, if anyone cares. But
73 is not exactly terrible.
Well, it's also not good though. Alabama is given the number 2 strength of schedule team right now, and they're ranked 3rd in Sagarin.
It's the way Michigan's winning with that 73rd ranked schedule. That's what makes it look worse than it probably is.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Like compared to Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan's just destroying people and not allowing anyone to score, right? So good on them. It's like, hey, that's funny. We start bad mouthing Michigan. A bunch of people jumped on. Sweet. Hey, everyone. But no, the Michigan thing is I'm like eating popcorn here watching that because I'm very curious how this is going to go. And then I'm also curious, like, well, wait a second. Michigan is being caught doing this. Is anyone else doing this? And now you're going to have this like witch hunt kind of thing going on. I don't know.
Well, I don't care if you're, because it's just like in baseball. Who cares if you're stealing signs? If teams are going to be careless about it, that's on them. Sign stealing has been as old as time. Everybody's been doing it.
Yeah, that's why you just yell the play in some dude's ear and then he just runs it onto the field, right? That's...
It's like in the movie The Replacements where they're asking Shane Falco, is that to the right or the left? And he yells, it's to the left, and the whole defense is just laughing.
Mm-hmm.
Teams are going to find out. But I tweeted this out earlier. It's not that they stole the signs. It's the extent to which they went to do it.
Yeah. People going to
what
games
made
and
it.
shit.
That's what makes it a big deal.
I-
You're going to
I have
steal the
two-
signs. Do what?
Oh, for me, there's two things that I just don't get. One is, as soon as Spygate happened in the NFL, why didn't college football change and adapt also, and not think any like? Okay, I've used Urban Meyer as a scumbag. I'm just referencing him. You couldn't see a guy like Urban Meyer doing this. Like, why? I mean, NFL figured it out. Put microphones in linebackers, or put speakers on linebackers. In their helmets. How is it that college football didn't jump onto that? And number two, and this is what I find really interesting. Jim Harbaugh is the weirdest guy because he goes everywhere and he just ruins his he overstays his welcome at places that want him. Like, for example, at San Diego State, I mean, I get that. That's kind of like you're leaving. But Stanford, he wasn't really he was kind of wore people down. And then the 49ers, he could have been coached there for as long as he wanted.
Yeah, I think he could have stayed at San Francisco for a really long time.
And he wore himself out. He got to a point to where they went to the Super Bowl and the owner was trying to trade him. So, I mean, this is kind of like his MO. He's, after 5-6 years, he starts to wear out his welcome and he rubs people the wrong way.
I mean, this is like the 7-year itch, though. You know, I mean, this. I don't know if this is necessarily a unique to Harbaugh thing. I mean, like, shit. Look at Notre Dame. Year 7, Brian Kelly goes 4-8, and I'm waving a torch and pitchfork saying get him out of here. You know what I'm saying? Which kind of, if that didn't happen, you know, we wouldn't be here today talking to you fine people. Not that one necessarily is directly related to the other, but I get what you're saying. Like, I think Harbaugh is just weird in general. You know, he wears a marker around his neck. He wears cleats in recruits' houses. You know, he talks about, like, when he was on his suspension, just watching, like, he doesn't just say, oh, I was watching games on TV, it was great. He just goes on and makes it awkward. Like,
he's a drifter. Like, if that makes sense. Like, he hops around. I mean, that's just the best way I can explain it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he has a good winning percentage the last couple of years, but maybe it's because he's stealing signs. I don't know.
He's like if a dorky computer nerd from Geek Squad at Best Buy was actually athletic. You got Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
But he's a hell of a coach, but his antics, I think, wear on people.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah, that's so I guess more to come here. I mean, if anyone has anything to say about the Harbaugh thing or even USC losing, you know, by all means, we can go from that, go to that here. I'm going to change gears here to Pitt. And I'm not saying that we're going to have a short show tonight, but tonight's Tuesday. Friday night, we'll be back here, hopefully around this same time, hopefully not too much later than now. I will be joined in studio with 5 Foot Nothing Pod. Yes, I'm his Uber for the game, the Pitt game, this week. He's been promoting it probably a lot harder than me, but he hasn't been to a game in South Bend since, I believe, 2014, based off of our conversation. So he's really, really pumped to go up to Notre Dame for a while. And then, we'll have a, I'd say not necessarily a continuation of this show on Friday, because I'm sure it'll be a lot more unique and a little more back and forth between the two of us here in studio. But that is what's coming down the pipe here. I imagine we'll do car bombs in the Joy slot. And we're going to try to hook up with the Dos Leprechauns tailgate too. So hopefully we're going to have a lot of fun on Saturday, and Notre Dame beats the shit out of Pitt. So, and we see all of you there who are going to the game. Looks like there's quite a few people I've seen on Twitter saying they're going to the game. Some people it's their first game. Some people are regulars like Adam Dowling. And it's funny, I forget what game it was, or what show it was, but Adam, you were talking about how it feels like there's two types of people that go to Notre Dame games. There's the people who haven't been in a really long time or just ever, or there's like the regular people. And so it feels like there's all new people there a lot. And maybe that's a function of the, student, or excuse me, the lack of rowdiness per se in the crowd, because everyone's being so polite because they're all new and guests and they're there for their first game or whatever. So that won't be me. I went to a couple games last couple years. So and right now slated to go to 2 this year. So most likely not going to a bowl game, considering that I'm going to have a kid around that time. So
quick question.
Yo,
are we? One, I will not be here Friday. I'm going to opening night for the Kings. 2, are we
the
not
Sacramento Kings?
Yes.
Did you lose a bet?
No, I'm a lifelong fan.
Oh, okay.
I live in
Sacramento Kings is the only thing local.
That is.
I live in Sacramento. So.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. All right.
And
I won't make too many Robert Horry references then.
Well, yeah. Well, don't worry. I've been through a lot worse.
This is true.
So,
It's called Chris Webber.
Yeah, at least they're still in the town. So there you go.
Not for long.
Just real quick. Do you not? I know I texted you or the other day. Is today not a good day to talk about Jack and his testimony?
No, you can if you want. No, I mean I'm not here to. Far be it from me to stifle the. I mean, hey, this is what people want to talk. You want to talk about Swarbrick, who's on his way out? Go for it.
Well, I just thought it was interesting. Does anybody know what happened where he testified in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee on NIL? Is anybody aware?
No clue.
Oh, sorry. I just found it interesting that he made one of the most impactful quotes of the whole hearing, where he said that I think that it's going to get to a point where we are going to have to start bargaining with the players. That was it was the quote of the hearing. That's it.
Whose fault is that? No, I'm dead serious. That's college football's fault. They've allowed this, and I've talked about this before. They've allowed this scenario to happen. With not paying attention to what's happening down at like Florida State or Miami in the 80s, and you've got all this nonsense going on there. People getting paid under the table at USC during the Carroll years, right? Like everyone knows this is Red Snapper. What are you doing? You chopping carrots or something?
Yep.
I know you are. Totally threw me off. But then the but even beyond just like the side bullshit with the boosters, you've got bullshit with all this TV money. Look at how much like Rutgers and Iowa and teams that are just not good at college football are getting paid out. Like IU is getting paid more money. Coach Percy, I'm putting you on mute. They're getting more money than Notre Dame is with their quote TV deal with the Big Ten network. And that's bullshit. Okay. I would argue that the system has created this monster. Okay. There's so much money in college athletics. And I also would say that these guys, these student athletes, at least at Notre Dame, they're student athletes, they basically are responsible for the university. I'll just talk to Notre Dame specifically. They're responsible for that place making millions of dollars every weekend that there's a football game there, right? Millions of dollars. Okay. The population of South Bend, Mishawaka area goes up like 100,000 people. and then your cell phone signal goes to shit, right? So sorry, local South Bend people, because all the Chicago people came over, right? But sorry, Adam. Who am I to blame, right? And then you've got like ESPN, and they got all these like college game day shows, and then Fox, and it's like on and on and on. And it's like without college football and college sports, there'd be no way that these universities would be as big as they are. There'd be all this money everywhere. And that's like good and bad, because it's like, well, you've created these nice, beautiful campuses and stuff. But it's like, at the same time, like, how much is that actually going to like higher education versus just like holding concerts and, building buildings and stuff? It's like an arms race of stuff. So like, all I'm saying is that, like, okay, it's cool. We love Notre Dame. I have no problem with that, right? And like, there's also, how much Notre Dame crap do I have in my closet, right? So, I'm feeding the beast here, but I'm also like not like my arguments for Notre Dame, like joining a conference or some of these other things. It's never about money, right? And like paying players and some of these other things, I'm like, okay, maybe you should do it, but not directly. Like maybe get like a stipend so you can like, go out for a meal with your friends or go to a movie or just something like that, like normal college students kind of can do. And then like if you get paid money, you don't actually see it in cash, like up front, like just it goes in an investment account or something, and you see it and it grows the longer you're in there. And so it's kind of an incentive to stay in college and get your degree longer. Like that's just my opinion of a way to like find some sort of healthy medium between, the big nastiness that is, money, because it's the root of all evil or whatever, coupled with, okay, Notre Dame actually kind of gives a shit about academics, versus some of these other schools that I really don't know.
I had one other thing I found kind of enjoyable is, like you were saying, they were enabling and allowing programs to do certain things. And now the NC2A president is going to Congress or going to our representatives and asking for regulations and guidance because, oh my gosh.
Because he's so incompetent. Oh, I just can't do anything. My hands are tied, Like, what are you talking about? There's no other entity.
He quote unquote said it's going to kill our smaller schools, like for example a Sacramento State. They'll lose their athletic programs. And it's like, well, you didn't care back when you had an opportunity. You know what I mean? It's here's my thought on paying the players. There are 7% who go pro in football, 6% of all athletes. I do agree. Look, I could tell you so many people our ages who would have killed for a free education and not owe any money. And not only that, but had the opportunity to also go and get their master's or whatever. I think if you're an athlete, especially on scholarship, you should not only get the free, like a scholarship, but also be able to, if you at that university, attend postgraduate school too for free. That's your payment, in my opinion. And then deal with the other 7% who are special and going to go professional. Treat them differently.
Well, the NCAA has kind of allowed this to happen too with some of the other like transfer stuff. Like Alohi Gilman is a great example. He was at the Naval Academy, had to sit out for a year, and then he comes in and finally is allowed to play at Notre Dame and is awesome. Right? Those are the old rules. Now it's like if you just want to transfer, Hartman was a grad student, it's a little different story. But some of these other guys, especially now, they just transfer and then boom, they're playing the next year, right? And we've been on the receiving end of that too, so I'm not too upset. But it's at the same time like it's just different now, right? It's more like the professional, levels where you were making. You were like just trading players and it was more like a business deal. At least back in the day, it felt like, are you actually committing to a school and a coach and a program? Because if you want to leave while you're still a quote unquote undergrad and not a graduate student, you have to sit out for a year. And so it kind of encouraged you to be a student more and kind of integrate more into said program and people thought twice. Now there's no loyalty. You're just like, well, I don't like this, I'm going to transfer. You've seen this with a number of players. And so I think the NCAA loosening those restrictions has created this slippery slope to now where, Jack Swarbrick's having to testify before, the legislative branch of the federal fucking government. And he's a smooth talker, right? So I don't really have a problem with him, quote unquote, representing Notre Dame. And, I'm sure a lot, obviously Notre Dame's brand and name, carries some weight with it, obviously. So that's cool, I guess. But at the same, and so I have really no problem with that. Like Notre Dame's always, quote unquote, part of these discussions with the BCS or college football playoff formats or, some of these things like that, which is great. So I'm happy we're invited to the discussion. My whole problem is like, I just think there's just been lack of leadership and a failure for anyone at the NCAA, quite frankly, to just take ownership and accountability and responsibility for what has happened to college sports in general. I can't speak for like college wrestling or swimming or some of these other sports that aren't on TV, but like basketball, basketball is like, it's totally different, right? You don't make nearly as much money and the tournament's pretty established, but there's a lot of money in that, and I went to Gonzaga and they've got a big basketball program and stuff. And that wouldn't be the case if GU wasn't winning, number one, but two, they weren't getting all this exposure on ESPN and doing good shit like that and going to Maui, like they're going to play Purdue the first round of the Maui Invitational and shit like that. So I'm with you on that this is part of it. And it's exciting and it's fun. So I also don't want to just be like some grouchy old person here yelling at a rain cloud. No. But we're Notre Dame fans and we sometimes think that, well, maybe it shouldn't just be about money and it shouldn't just be about big recruits. It should actually be about going to school and, actually being a Catholic university and some of these other things that we think Notre Dame should still stand for. I don't know. Maybe I'm too idealistic.
I think the genie came out of the bottle though, with EA Sports being so realistic. And it's different for the pro games, but when you go to the college football games, the college basketball games, that's where, and that's why it went to the federal level. That's why name, image, and likeness even came up, became a thing, because of these video games and because of the skills and quantifying them. It's different with Madden for pros, in the NFL. The difference with, you take that same platform, you put it to college students, and now we're using their bodies and their images. I mean, almost to the point that their faces, when you zoom in, are their faces. Then, yeah, the federal government did have, unfortunately, the restrictions that they had to impose because of name, image, and likeness. And now we're dealing with the genie being out of the bottle, because now any of these well-known, whether it's regional, local, or national, you get our favorite Heisman Trophy winner to hate, Caleb Williams, is doing Wendy's commercials that are nationwide. And the reason for that is because now his face, he can make money off of it. And of course, Wendy's, he's the Heisman Trophy winner. So, it's a win-win in that case, but that's where the genie came out of the bottle.
And it's unfortunate that the pendulum has swung so far that, and I'm going to quote, I'm going to give this man credit. Will Clark said this on his podcast. You're not going to see Fullerton, Cal Poly, or whatever win a national championship in baseball again. And those are baseball schools.
I was going to say Fullerton is historically a very good baseball school.
But he said, and Will Clark from Mississippi State might be a little bit biased, but he said the SEC is willing to spill out their money in baseball, and Fullerton can't compete with that. Or Cal Poly, all these, California baseball, collegiate baseball is really exciting to watch, but you can't. Soon, those schools won't compete with SEC schools because they're going to pump money if it comes to who outbids kids.
Yeah, but like, yeah, and true. Like I
that's sad.
And that's the thing that sucks about it is because it's like now it's become this, like go to any of your. I'm gonna go kind of a different angle here. Go to like any of these like young actors or actresses who like were on like the Disney Channel or were like Macaulay Culkin or some of these child actors. Like, how often does it end up well for them, right? And okay, it's acting, it's Hollywood. There's some other weird shit goes on there too, but it's like young people with a lot of money that tends to not be a quote good combination. Okay, now you're taking college students, right? And how many people who went to college, made all the right decisions? No one did, right? So, and that's not, throw the baby out the bathwater, but at the same time, it's like, I just don't see good things happening for these young people in the long run here. Like, just why is there just so much money tied up in all of this, right? Like, can we do something that's like halfway between like giving the players something that they quote unquote earn / deserve, but it's delayed? I don't know. Maybe just lower my cable bill and then the shit we don't have to pay all these colleges all this money. Like, again, it's an economics thing, right? But but then there's rights and things of who can broadcast what game and all this other TV bullshit, and it's like like that's just part of the problem. And yes, like I really like watching Notre Dame on football, so I'm not going to complain about it, right? And just like I'm going to, next time Notre Dame plays on Peacock or whatever, I'll fork over the, $8 or wherever it is to watch it for just that game and then cancel right away. But, I don't know that, Mac, I think you bring up something interesting because it's coupled with a current event of the evolution of college sports. We're doing a college football podcast tonight specific to Notre Dame, where Notre Dame fits in all of this. Red Snapper, you were talking about the EA Sports game. It looks like it's coming out next year for next season. And then you got all this NIL bullshit that has just been the complete wild fucking West. Who knows, right? And so I don't know. I think NIL has been kind of stretched, into something that it maybe shouldn't be or wasn't intended, but that's just kind of how things are, and there's really no governance to say one way or the other. And I don't have a lot of faith in the NCAA making it right, or even the federal government for that matter. And that's not to get political. It's just the post office struggles sometimes. So
that has been an argument that I've always made, that I think I've made since being on this podcast with you, is what I can't forget. Oh gosh, what is it called? But I can't cite the term. But it's adapt or become extinct, evolve or extinct. Yeah. Or you know what I mean. I think Notre Dame is kind of going like, when I said holier than thou attitude, if they don't want to be part of EA Sports, they have a right to be like that, and they want to be an academic institution. But I foresee in 10 years, not it being difficult to survive and call yourself a contender. I really do. Because
I just don't see any recent evidence that suggests anything different from what we've been talking about over the last 15 years.
What do you mean?
Like people were talking about this 15 years ago. About I don't know if Notre Dame can compete with the high academics and all this stuff and the college, playoffs now, and Notre Dame's independent still and da. And it's like, here's Notre Dame still doing their thing, and here we are ranked, in the top 15.
But money wasn't involved like it is now.
But Notre Dame is like part of that. I mean, we've been part of College Game Day twice. We've had the Fox show once. If it wasn't for our own stupidity, Notre Dame could be ranked top 5 and undefeated right now.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Academics and all the stuff you're talking about. So, like, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, like, I'm not seeing any recent evidence that is different from the opinion, and they're valid opinions. Don't get me wrong. Your opinion's valid. But it's I've heard this before.
Okay. I think in within my lifetime, not immediately, but I think just the way it's going, how, like, just when I watch the testimony, just everything, I just get a feeling, and the Pac-12 dissolving, I get a feeling that Notre Dame is going to have no choice but to choose at some point within my lifetime, and that could be in 2 years, that could be in 15 years, but I just feel like the track that's continuing, it's a very real and possible crossroads that the university is going to have to, and I think they're going to have to choose.
Red Snapper, and what were you going to say about that?
And whichever they choose would be understandable. And honestly, I don't think anyone would blame them. And that's that.
The next stage is, given how some of these players, not necessarily Notre Dame, but other schools, how these players are getting the incomes that they're getting through NIL. What absolutely
Which is all like a rumor from social media, right? Like, this shit isn't public knowledge.
Right. But just to kind of re-highlight how absolutely inflamed you got by Kyron Williams sitting out and, choosing not to play in the bowl game. Hamilton, those guys. The next step is going to the NFL. What happens when, say USC does lose next week? They've got Oregon.
Don't care. But no, it's probably something like that.
They lose to Oregon, and he decides, do you know what? I'm just going to not play because I don't want to get hurt because I'm going to go to the NFL.
They have Cal this Saturday, then they have Washington, then Oregon, then UCLA. They have arguably the toughest, two of those three games are the toughest on their schedule.
Yeah. But say, okay, he plays the Cal game, and then next week, the following week's Washington, and then they lose that game, so now they have 3. He could potentially say, do you know what? I'm done playing football. For me, honestly, I think the next way it needs to go,
and I wouldn't be surprised by that,
some kind of accountability for the NIL. And I think the way you can do it is withdraw their scholarship, make them pay their tuition.
Yeah, but the problem is I don't think the NFL necessarily cares about that.
No, but that's where the universities need to care about NIL.
Well, that I agree.
If every university makes it across the board thing that once you reach a certain threshold in NIL, your scholarship is now null and void and you pay your tuition because you clearly can afford it. Then it takes the onus off the university because now this player has the choice to pay to stay and play because now they don't have a scholarship. And I think it'll be a twofold. It'll create a kind of funnel like.
So it's like they're enrolled at the university, but they don't use up a scholarship. So then what? Like USC can offer a scholarship to like a walk-on or some shit like that. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
That's
to
interesting.
Somebody who doesn't have the NIL deal.
Or USC could offer more scholarships to programs that only give 2 scholarships.
Yeah, but then you're crossing streams with sports here. Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be a Pitt show, not. This sounds like bye-week stuff.
I'm sorry. I just find this topic so interesting.
It is interesting, and I think it makes for good roundtable discussions. Don't get me wrong. It's a little outside of my comfort zone per se with scotch and spreadsheets because there's not a whole lot of spreadsheet I can do with this because this is all crystal ball and opinion and emotion and
I'll keep my mouth shut. It's so.
I didn't tell you to be quiet.
No. That's my personality. Is I will dominate a conversation.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I kind of interrupt people a lot, but you lost a little bit when you were saying you were a Kings fan. That's all I gotta say.
You know what? It means I'm loyal because
really?
I can go through that. I'll tell you what my wife said.
You like the NBA? That's what was disappointing. Not so much the Kings.
My wife once told me this. She said, "I know you'll never cheat on me because no matter how bad the Kings are, you're still going to their games." I was like, "Yeah, that's true." So
what does that mean? She can treat you poorly and you never mind. No. Don't answer that.
There's a horrible return on investment.
Yes. I mean, they want to move on you. They
check please. Okay.
Yeah. Now, if he had said Kings referring to hockey, that might be
that's
little bit
different. Okay, we get Ram 27 on here. We'll start doing the Cartman Go Kings Go thing, right?
I like the Sharks.
So. That's okay. They've never won a cup, so it's fine. The you can like all bad teams. It's fine. So why are you a Notre Dame fan? Okay, that's fine. I'm just kidding. We're happy you're here, Mac. All right, let's move on. Let's actually talk about Pitt. Red Snapper kind of teed me up here earlier regarding, just kind of
PTSD.
Yeah. What did you say on Twitter? Something about Pitt TSD or something? I said that to the doc. She laughed at me.
It's PTSD, but instead of in between the P and the T, put the other IT for Pitt.
Pitt TSD.
So Pitt TSD.
Pitt TSD. All right. Sounds like some. Anyway. Yeah. So yes, I have that, and here's why. Notre Dame's two lengthiest games as far as quarters or overtimes, however you want to describe it.
Duration.
Yeah, and especially in the one, it was definitely a duration thing. I have been to just 2 games versus Pitt. I was at the 2008 game in South Bend. That was the 33-36 loss, the famous sprinkler game or infamous sprinkler game. I was also at the 2012 3 overtime thriller, 29-26, where we had just beaten Oklahoma. We got Pitt at home. Oh, this is going to be great. We're going to win. And it was not great. So I'm not saying that this is a trap game with Pitt here coming up. No, but Narduzzi doesn't like Notre Dame. Used to be at Michigan State, right? Granted, he has an 0-3 record versus Notre Dame, so maybe he's getting a little antsy. I don't know. But statistically, which we'll talk about later, they don't stand a chance with Notre Dame per se. But back to Red Snapper's comment about me and my anxiety with Pitt. Both of those 2 games I was in attendance for were very lengthy and almost to the point of you're just take me out back and shoot me because I'm done with this. And so I actually have a 50-50 record with Notre Dame and Pittsburgh. And so I'm looking to get on the winning side of those columns there.
Increase your win percentage?
Yeah, pretty much, right? Yeah. I want to bat better than 500.
Well, that responsibility solely falls on the 5 Foot Nothing pod.
Yeah, well, and maybe we'll make Marcus Freeman a little accountable too. But yes, so yes, we are going to the game. I'm going with 5 Foot Nothing pod. He's bringing his better half. She's never been to a game, so that's cool. Doc's staying home with toddler Irish faithful and baby Irish faithful in the womb. So I'm the Uber, and I know the route very well. So that's Joe's anxiety here about the Pitt game. But yeah, I will say the Pitt game in 2012, probably quote unquote the best game I ever saw, just because it went back and forth, went 3 overtimes, and I was in that north end zone there by the tunnel. That's where we threw interceptions That's where Sierra Wood fumbled on the goal line. That's where Pitt missed their field goal to force the third overtime. That's where Everett Golson did his Superman dive to take it into overtime. Like, a lot of good shit happened down in that end zone during that game. And those were probably one of the best seats we had. We were in the lower bowl, but the last row, so we could stand the entire time. It was fantastic. So I don't know if we'll be able to stand the whole time because Notre Dame's weird and we're sitting a little closer to the field, which is cool. But simultaneously, I am looking forward to it. We'll have a lot of fun, despite my anxiety and nerves for the game. I'm looking forward to it. I am excited to go and watch Notre Dame play. See another game for Marcus Freeman, see Sam Hartman up close and personal-ish, and if we see Phil Dracovic, we're going to yell at him, which is going to be great. I see Jay here. Invite you to speak. Lynch Mob, what's up, man? Coach Barsegian, what's up, Lynch? How you feeling? You recovering good?
Recovering pretty good so far.
That's good. We're going to get you up to a game next year? Stanford game?
Oh, yeah, next year for sure.
Let's get you up for Stanford.
Yeah, we'll shoot for that.
Well, and that's probably a good segue here. So anyone and Adam, thank you for joining us. Hello. Anyone who's, if I haven't already sent a message on Twitter, forgive me. But if you're listening to this on the podcast version right now, encouraging everyone to clear your calendars now, make it a priority now for October 12th of 2024. We want to get a big group of podcasting and Twitter people together for a football game. Do the whole weekend right. Get your ass up there Thursday, Friday. Go to the pep rally, right? Go out for drinks or dinner, whatever. Friday, tailgate all day Saturday, go to the game, and then people go home Sunday. Right. I think it'd be great, and if we plan now, we can get people like Stevie D Irish out from Ireland, people out from California, Florida, all over the world. There's someone I've met on Twitter who lives in, I believe, Croatia, giving him a shout out, said, hey, get your ass back to South Bend. And he's like, really? You guys are doing this? I'm like, dude, we're going to start playing. If we plan now, it'll happen. If we try to half-ass it and do it at the last minute, it's not going to work. So encouraging everyone, set that aside, make it a priority, and we'll go from there. Tickets, we'll figure out tickets, all right? But right now, get your travel and your personal life sorted, all right? Don't schedule any weddings. Don't schedule any, births of children, okay? So that's me included, right? Well, actually, I think that's physically impossible right now, but anyway, well, actually, it might not be.
No, it'd be rapid fire.
That would be probably not the best for the doc, but considering she is of advanced maternal age, it's so funny the way they do that medically now. But anyway, it's like, that's a polite way of saying you're getting old, lady. She doesn't listen to the show. It's fine. But yeah. All right. Back to Pitt. Let's talk about some actual football stuff. That's why you all are here. If we didn't bore you all to death with all the other stuff here. All right. So look, Narduzzi's been at Pitt for 9 years. Freeman, this is his second year. Freeman has a better win percentage than Narduzzi. What's interesting is Pitt, they have, their recruiting is all over the place. It says low or good, quote unquote, as 28th. It's as bad as 76. So they average over the last 4 years, 50th. Now they've got, a couple of ex-Notre Dame players like a Sibo Flemister and a Phil Dracovic on the team, but I don't even think Dracovic is even, the starter anymore. So, who knows what that means. But regardless, they do not have, quote unquote, better the talent than us. Sattergrim's putting them at 65th with a strength of schedule of 42. So a better strength of schedule than Michigan, but not as good as Notre Dame. Now, what's interesting is I was curious, like, okay, Pitt actually, this surprised me. I was curious, like, how old is Pittsburgh football, right? I know it's an older school. Pittsburgh clearly is an older city. I mean, if anyone really knows their history, Lewis and Clark actually officially, quote unquote, started their journey in Pittsburgh. And the reason why I say that is because that's where they started getting some of the plans for the keelboat that they ended up taking all the way across the Missouri. So anyway, that's the history fact of the day. The more you know. But Pitt actually started playing football in 1890, just 3 years after Notre Dame first played. So that's kind of interesting. And these two teams met in 1909 for the first time. So it's actually, we've played Pitt for many, many, many years, which is pretty crazy. Fortunately, we are the victors as far as overall, win percentage or whatever, 49 wins to 21 losses, right? There's a tie in there, but we played them 71 times. So significant history with Pitt, which is interesting, but clearly in our favor, which is, good for us. And we've won the last 3, which is great. So ever since 2015, 2018, which was close, which we'll come back to, and 2020. Now, 2018 is interesting because obviously that's the year Notre Dame went undefeated. And I believe I mentioned this in my first season when Notre Dame played Pitt. And we beat the shit out of them. It was great. We won 45-3. Pitt was really, really bad that COVID year. And that game was in Pittsburgh, even though there were no fans. But, that's what COVID will do to you, I guess. I remember in 2018, though, Notre Dame barely squeaks by with a win. A 19-14 victory. And I believe we were losing at halftime. And I was so fucking pissed that we were doing very well all season. Ian Book was in, right? We're running the football. We've got Dexter Williams throwing up deuces and just, kicking ass and taking names now. And we go and play Pittsburgh at home, and it's just a complete shit fest. Now, I was so pissed and knowing my other anxiety from previous games, I actually turned the game off. And I remember checking the mail, and then I went out and changed the oil in the fucking car because I was like, fuck this. I'm going to do something productive with my life. And then I come back, it's the fourth quarter, and it's like, okay, we're winning. I wasn't podcasting at that. Fine, sue me. But I was just like, here we go again. So now I won't be hiding in the tunnel during the game if this game gets really sideways. Hopefully it doesn't. But so that's another game, the 2018 game, watching that on TV, where Joe gets anxiety. He doesn't like it,
Pitt TSD, telling you.
It's Pitt TSD. Red Snapper, what's your opinion of Pitt? Do you hate him? You like him? What's your deal?
Honestly, I like Pitt as a program. I think their inconsistency on how strong of a year they have. I mean, you can't say they don't have great players. Dan Marino came from Pitt.
Yep.
Yeah, Ken Pickett recently. So they do have good players that do come from the program, and you can thank the greater Pittsburgh area for that.
Yeah.
So recruiting, can be up there. So it's really how well, and Pitt's always known for a great defense, and this year's no different. They've got a great defense, so it's going to be a good physical game. If we come at the game the way we were playing it with SC, literally all cylinders clicking. And if you had a chance to hear Marcus Freeman's, press conference, he really stressed the fact it's not just us teaching the players, but they have to execute. They have to know it so well that they execute it fast. And that's, I think, one of the biggest takeaways I got from the press conference was you saw it with SC. So now they know what to do, and they were able to actually execute it with that urgency. And they did it in a very physical way, which is why our defense was astronomical that game. I think if we can continue that, I don't think anybody has a chance against us. we've got to get the offense clicking on that same pace that the defense is.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. I just did some quick analysis here of Pitt, and kind of to justify why I do have some anxiety. From 2008 to 2013, we played Pitt every single season. In 08, we lost by 3. 09, we lost by 5. 10 plus 6. 11 plus 3. 12 plus 3. 13 minus 7. 12 plus 12. 18 plus 5. And then the most recent one is plus 42. What's really interesting is if I just take that top group of those first 6 games, they're all by less than 1 touchdown. 1 touchdown or less. 7 points or less. Which is really irritating. It's like, this is Pittsburgh. We should be a much better team than them. But they're a scrappy team. They always seem to have this like level of toughness with them. And we just struggle. It's just real pain in the ass with Pittsburgh. I don't like it.
I think Notre Dame was in a lot different place program-wise during those years.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
I really can't imagine. If Notre Dame just sticks to who they are, they should have no problem. I see this as being the 38. I think the Irish put up 38.
See, that scares me.
But them just running the ball and sticking to an identity, get 4 yards on first down, 5 yards, and third down and short. That's how I see the game going. I don't know. I don't see it not going that way unless they overcomplicate things.
All right, let me say something to scare the shit out of you. As I just mentioned 9 games here from 08 to 2020, right? And 6 of them are all in a row. If I take the scoring differential, just, who wins, who loses, right? So -3, -5, all the way to plus 42. The average of all of that is plus 6 in Notre Dame's favor. And that's because the last one is the real outlier. So let's get rid of that outlier and just take the rest. Then the outlier is plus 12 for Notre Dame. The average then is Notre Dame with a 1.7 point advantage. If I just take the first 6 games of that series, Notre Dame actually has a minus 0.5. Go shoot yourself.
You look at this game.
This is why I don't like this game. Okay.
You look at this week's game, the Vegas numbers are kind of bipolar. It's got Notre Dame winning by 20 and a half.
That's not going to happen.
And then it has the over-under set at 44 and a half. So it's saying it's going to be a low-scoring game and Notre Dame's going to win by 20. If it's a low-scoring game, it's going to be a close game.
What does that even mean? Like, is like 30-10, or is that what they're saying?
Pretty much. They're saying that Notre Dame's going to win by almost 21 points, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, 20 and a half. That's what Team Rankings told me today.
Notre Dame.
Yeah, but 2 of those scores are going to be by the defense.
Not that we want that.
I'm okay with that. Like, I said that after the USC game. I was like, I'll take that every day of the week.
If they come out of a bye and this game is close, that means that they probably are playing sloppy. That would mean that they are probably unprepared, similar to the Louisville game. And if that happens, then I think that there's going to be a lot of feet to the fire. I don't see that happening. Like, that's going to... I just find it very hard. Coming out of a bye, that means...
Mac, do you think they cover the 20 and a half?
I think they could. I think that's a fair line. I do. I could see them winning by 20.
I didn't say if you could. You think they will?
Yes or no? Yes
do
or no?
or do not. There is no try.
Yes, they're going to cover. No, they're not.
I don't know. I find
you've been watching too many press
say
conferences
yes.
at with Congress here, people can't actually answer fucking questions directly.
I will. Hey, do you know I did minor in government in California in U.S. government. So, anyway.
Should I be careful what I say now? I don't know.
No.
What do you know about the government, sir?
Oh, I taught it. I taught in high school, or as a teacher. I knew I wanted to be a
Article
teacher, so
3 of the Constitution. Yeah, there you go.
What's
So
the
anyway,
Fifth Amendment? Quick.
no. Here's what I think they should, but Notre Dame's not a team to run up the score. That's why I wouldn't take that bet. Because also they run the ball and they consequently run the clock out. I think they have the capability to beat the over. Do they? That's a real tough call. I wouldn't take that bet. Because it's just not who they are. If they were like you know what, you guys know what I mean? They're not the type they're gonna put in their backup quarterbacks and stuff like that.
Here, let me throw a wild card here, and then I want to hear what AJ has to say here about this. Let me throw this wild card at y'all. And I don't really the bye week. I'm just kind of agnostic to that because that can go either way. Although I am happy we have a bye week because we played 8 fucking games in a row. It was nice to have a week off, and I'm sure the team appreciated it, and so did Marcus Freeman.
Oh, by the way, you hear Nick Saban of Alabama give the same excuse.
Good.
We're just tired.
Gee, we're just tired. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, everyone gets tired. Notre Dame lost to Louisville, and then Louisville turns around, and Louisville wins their biggest game of the year, plays Pitt, and then loses.
And
a team that embarrassed us, quite frankly. We got embarrassed at Louisville. Okay, they go and play Pitt, and Pitt beats them. And Pitt's 2-5 right now. Okay, so that shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. All right, we just got off of and this is where I'm trying to scare people straight, right? We just got off of winning our biggest game of the year. It is our biggest win, right? Yeah, and it's a team we hate. And now we're going to play Pitt. Is anyone else freaking out, or is it just me? I'm just saying.
Well, Pitt didn't just barely beat Louisville.
No,
Pitt
they throttled them.
By 17 points.
Yes.
So that right there showed me that Pitt's defense is definitely something to be reckoned with, and their offense was able to put up 38 points. So that right there tells me it's either going to be a really close, low-scoring game, or it's going to be a shootout. And with the way our offenses have been playing, that's what's making me nervous.
Coach Welch here in the chat says Pitt's linebackers won't be able to cover our running backs and tight ends in coverage. Look for more 2-back sets, and my response to that is #RTDB.
Exactly. But like I said 2 weeks ago, play action with a power run game and get out of the cute, RPO, to me, is the way to go with this personnel.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's my whole point is like, okay, you I don't know, like a well-coached team comes out of the bye very that pays attention to detail.
Ready to go.
I feel here's how I see Notre Dame, and this is where this is a little test on Freeman and his coaching staff. It's, can you come out of the bye? You had a week to prepare. You had a week to prepare your team. If you come out in the first quarter, second quarter, and this is how I see them losing, making false starts, lack of concentration penalties, that means your team wasn't prepared. That's a problem. And that's the only way I see them losing. And because honestly, the Louisville thing, I think they shot themselves in the foot.
Louisville.
When they lost to Louisville. I think they could have blown it out. That's my whole point. I do see Faithful, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. But how many times when they fell into a pit and a trap game or whatever,
they fell into a pit.
Well, you know what?
That was great.
They weren't
I wish
prepared.
I don't have that soundtrack, that sound clip. Damn it.
Put it in the notepad.
I know.
But you guys, that's my point. I think if the coaching staff does what they should do, which is prepare their players coming out of a bye, did extensive film because you have 2 weeks, and didn't look ahead on their schedule, this should be a cakewalk.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I want to hear your rebuttal.
Whose?
AJ's.
Oh, AJ's rebuttal.
Oh, rebuttal for what? What did I do?
No, just your take on Pitt.
Okay, so about the spread argument, Notre Dame is 6-2. I'm counting the push as a push against Ohio State, a spread that we covered because I think Notre Dame was +3 in that game. 6-2 against the spread is pretty good. But I will agree with Mac here. They really shot themselves in the foot against Louisville. I went to that game, had some stale hot dogs, and I did not really expect them to actually come out like that. But they
Louisville
answered
revenge.
It was a 19.5-point swing between what Vegas said we would win versus what actually happened.
Yeah. Like, I think Vegas for Louisville, they favored us at by a touchdown, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But they just came out so. I mean,
stupid.
I think those defensive turnovers earlier in the game, 80%, 90% of the time, doesn't matter what level of football it is. It kind of usually tells who's going to win the game, and Louisville did that. But then they go to Pitt and they get their shit kicked in.
Yeah.
So sorry for swearing.
Cussings are out. Just no breaking the second commandment.
Oh, okay. But here's my thing. I think Notre Dame could cover the spread here. They could. It could be like a game where they're up like 35-7, but they end up winning like 41-20. I don't think it's gonna be like, hey, it could be a close game, you know. But it's going to be one or the other. It's not going to be like Pitt. I don't think Pitt's going to be able to like keep up with our running backs. Everyone's almost coming back healthy. Like, you know, like now the question of Marcus Freeman is like, what do you do with Tobias Harris when everyone's coming back healthy? I mean, so there's a lot of things that kind of resurfaced this week with this team. There's a lot of praise for Price out there, with him in the return game, and this game's at home. We got to win it for our fans. And
please, I'm spending a lot of time up there. I would like to have a win.
Are you going this weekend?
Yes, sir.
Why didn't you tell me? What the fuck? Okay. Anyways,
because I got someone coming in from Texas, man. 5 Foot Nothing Pod's coming up.
Oh, Michael's going up?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me? Me and Michael are boys. Anyways.
Well, show up on Friday night. We're podcasting Friday night.
Oh, so you want me to show up on my phone? Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Easy. That's easy. No cap there, but that's easy. But have a good time at the game, to be honest. But
thank you.
Really want to go to the Wake Forest game if I can make it, but
tickets are on sale. Notre Dame's
they have that two. They have that 2 for $150 and 4 for $200.
Yeah.
And I will be at the Wake Forest game.
Oh. No, but anyways, here's the deal. You know, they can't do this whole Louisville shit at Notre Dame Stadium. You know, like them not giving Nodrick Estime the ball until like the second quarter. No, they have the first play of the game has to be a rip for 20 yards from Nodrick Estime.
Ooh.
I cannot take.
We're writing this down. Hold on. Predictions. Go for it.
The first play of the game is a rip for about 20 yards from Nodrick Estime. It has to be.
First play, Estime, 20 plus yard. This is a run?
This is a run.
All right.
This is a run. You know, if our offensive line...
I might buy a lotto ticket if that actually happens. Okay, just FYI.
No, sure. But what I'm saying is like the only thing that like I'm not trying to like sway anyone else's like judgment over the game or anything like that. But when you win a big game like this against a ranked team, normally, whether it's a bye week or not, I mean, yes, it is your job to be prepared. And this is my last point. I wrap up on this. Someone else can speak. I speak a lot. Normally, that team that won comes out of the gate slow. But I'm not necessarily going to say that Notre Dame does this, but they do have the tendency of taking the foot off the gas pedal when they win a big game. We saw it against Clemson last year. We might see it again this week. So don't expect like a 14-0 score after the first quarter. Expect them to have a touchdown lead and then slowly progress into like the third or fourth quarter where they score up to 40 points. Can they cover the spread? Yes. 6-2 against the spread, baby. Let's go. Notre Dame 41-20 is my score prediction.
There you go.
If that happens, remember how we were calling for what's his name? The offensive coordinator's head. A lot of people were calling for his head after Louisville.
Jared Parker, yeah.
And yeah. If that happens, if they come out of the bye unprepared, where usually you have your first and you script your first 20, 25 plays and they can't execute after 2 weeks of practice, then that's a problem. And I can't see, that's what I mean. Feet are going to be to the fire if that happens.
Either way, I think they should move on from Jared Parker after this season.
Don't forget, not full weeks of practice. He gave the coordinators, the coaches, the players pretty much 5 days of the last 14 off. Then they're within restrictions on what they can do and how they can practice within the week. So they had the weekend to themselves. Sunday, the coaches met. The players didn't get back in until Monday. So keep in mind, it wasn't a full 2 weeks of practice.
It was like 10 or 9 days, I want to say.
Yeah.
No, but you've watched film, you can script. You know what I mean, though. Should, generally speaking, coming out of a bye, and when you script for games, you should be even more well prepared coming out of a bye. If that and you guys understand what I'm trying to say, right?
I do.
I do.
Okay.
Would you guys feel better if we were coming out of the bye? Forget Pitt. Forget that we're playing Pitt. Or you can even think about if we are playing Pitt. Would you feel better coming out of the bye if this was a home game or an away game? I won't speak for you guys, but my opinion is like I would rather this be an away game at Pittsburgh. Just because I sometimes feel like, now granted, the Louisville game was an away game, which was a shit fest. But other than that, at least my memory seems to recall like Notre Dame sometimes playing better on the road than they did at home.
And that's your recency bias from the last 2 years.
Is it? I mean, I'm genuinely curious. I'm kind of more curious. Like that's just my impulse reaction to like just the bye week, like versus just you're kind of rocked to sleep in South Bend and some of these other things. And don't get me wrong, I like going to home games, but it's like that's my opinion. I'm curious what other people think.
We had really bad losses at home. Whether it was Marshall last year or
Cincinnati
Ohio
2 years ago. Yeah.
We've had bad losses at home. So I think that's marring your memory just a bit. But I would be very, very curious to I would say...
Yes, because I was at the Marshall game. That was fucking bullshit.
It's probably pretty similar, the home and away record for Marcus Freeman since he started in the last 2 years. So I think it's just the emotional piece to it. But personally, I think the bye week coming after SC and having a home game afterward, and both of those were home games, I think is going to be a benefit for us. We won at home. We got to stay at home, relax, rest, and now we're back at home. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think
I think maybe if a home game might give us some sort of thing, but there's always that worry of a hangover. But, I mean, sure, everyone thought we were going to kick the shit out of Marshall last year, but sometimes you do have those bad games. Notre Dame has lost those games at home before, but just like Red Snapper said, like it does mar your memory. That's what happened with Notre Dame, and it was Marcus' first year as a head coach, but I think like with Freeman, he's gotten a lot of adversity since. He went undefeated after that loss or something like that. So
I mean, the Marshall, we won 3 in a row, and then we lost to Stanford, right? And then we didn't. And then we went all the way until the USC game. Here's something I just looked up. So Marcus Freeman has 6 losses attributed to him since last year. I'm not counting the. I'm gonna exclude his first game ever against Oklahoma State just because he was new and it was a bowl game. Some of this other stuff. Okay. The 3 losses that are on the road, you have Ohio State, then you have at USC last year, then you have at Louisville this year. Those 3 losses on the road were by double-digit points, all of them. The losses at home, the 3 of them, Marshall, Stanford, Ohio State, they're all by less than a touchdown. They're really close losses. And one could argue Notre Dame got in their own way, and that's why they lost. So if I take that into consideration, in addition to the other history we have with Pitt, if Notre Dame loses this game, it's because we played like garbage, not because Pitt did some great thing, because that's just kind of how Marcus Freeman has lost at home, where it's just a head scratcher. Like, why are you losing to this team under these particular circumstances? Go back to the Ohio State game post-game show for all further details, or even last year for all the cussing and swearing that happened there.
The Marshall and the Stanford, all those losses that you said at home were all, and even the Louisville, there were only, all those losses, I would say only 2 were palatable. 4 of them, the Louisville and all those losses at home, they looked unprepared and they did not execute at all.
I mean, we looked pretty good for the Ohio State game when the game started.
That's why that was palatable. I mean, the Ohio losses and even the USC. So excuse me, the 3 of the 6, only those are palatable. Like I can.
I mean, know what I mean? I don't know if I'm gonna say that a loss is palatable because I don't like losing. So I don't know if I can go directly there. I'm just saying if I look at of what happened in those games, right? Turnovers, shitty tackling, bad game play calling, lack of execution, some of this other crap. Like this isn't like the Bush
discipline.
Yeah, this isn't like the USC game. I actually thought Notre Dame played halfway decent. Well, at least the offense did. It took them a while to get going, and then they kind of got into rhythm, and then USC couldn't actually stop our offense. Unfortunately, our defense couldn't stop them. If we had this year's defense, well, we saw what happened, the last time we played USC. But my point is like we actually didn't play bad, quote unquote, against USC. They just played superior. We didn't play bad against Ohio State at Ohio State last year. Just in the end of the third quarter, fourth quarter, they played much better. Louisville, I think is the outlier on the away games as far as like we just played bad start to finish. Okay. Marshall, Stanford, same kind of story. So the losses, kind of come in 2 different flavors, but if I just isolate the losses at home, we lose when we get in our own way. We do stupid stuff like don't have 11 guys on the field.
Or we can't catch the ball.
Well, clearly, but
or mental discipline just sucks.
Yeah.
These are all just specific points to the overall point I'm making here, right? And I'm not saying we're going to lose to Pitt, and I never ever want that to happen, even though I predicted we would lose to USC. So I've been wrong before. But no, I'm looking at facts, looking at data, I'm looking at numbers here, and it's just like, like I have that don't hurt me mentality. And here's something else. So I've spent significant time in the city of Pittsburgh, right? I got a brother-in-law who's got 2 degrees from the place. I've got some skin in the game. Now, he's not a vindictive person, right? He's actually, pretty nice guy. But at the same time, it's like, you know what? Like, it's, my brother-in-law, we're gonna, there will be some texts going on. It'll be polite and cordial, but there will be texts. Okay.
Family crime.
It's gonna happen, right? So I want to be able to just send him a, leprechaun sitting in a hammock, kind of text, not receive a text of him just wearing a with a Pitt sweater on one of his dogs or something, and just like, hey, what's up, brother? And I'm just like, no, fuck you, don't.
I see what you're saying, though, because now that I reflect, like, you're kind of right. Even the California game that they played last year, they won by the skin of their by
the game ended hand. 3 times, actually.
but I get what you're kind of saying, like, because whenever they're playing you're right. During you quoted during the Freeman era, there are a lot of times at home where they come out almost too lackadaisical, too relaxed, and not hyped against lesser than opponents.
I mean, part of me kind of wants to be sick in my space here and go and rewatch the 2012 Pitt game and understand what the fuck happened after we had gone. And I would say arguably Brian Kelly's best win of all time while he was at Notre Dame was that game at Oklahoma. Okay. Just a complete game from start to finish, win to someone else's house, a game that you were predicted to lose. And I don't remember what the spread was, but it was not small. It was more than a touchdown, and we won by more than a touchdown. That was a complete game. And then we come back to South Bend and we just we almost blow it. Okay. and one would argue we did, right? But the Mary took her foot off of the serpent's head to come down and block a field goal for us, right? To help us win or something. I don't know. Lots of wine was consumed after that game. I'll tell you that, All right, that's Joe's anxiety about Pitt. A couple other things I want to get to, and then we'll start wrapping things up, men. The statistics. So the data, I won't go into all of the statistics, but there are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 10 stats, well, 11 actually. 11 stats that I look at that are kind of the head seat of the table here. And this is based off of some numbers from the Bull Pick'em last year. It's not complete; it's a little incomplete, but it was a formula that gave me 60% batting average. So it's not terrible. That being said, the significantly statistical ones are scoring margin, total touchdowns, scoring offense, scoring defense, total defense, rushing touchdowns, rushing defense, total offense, yards per point, and passing attempts per touchdown. Notre Dame is better than Pitt in all but one of those categories. The only one they're not better at is actually rushing defense, believe it or not. Notre Dame averages 129 yards on the ground for their opponents, ranked 52nd in the country. Pitt averages 127 yards, ranked 48th. Now, what's interesting about that is Notre Dame's rushing yards is actually better than that. We average 165. So, okay, so we'll see what happens on Saturday. But if AJ's prediction comes out that Estime runs 20 yards on the first run play, hey, I'm a happy guy. So that gives me a lot of confidence going into this Pitt game that of all, 10, 11 of those stats I just mentioned that I believe are statistically significant, again, based off of last year's bowl pick'em results, that's really good. Now, these stats aren't perfect because it also said that USC would win, but, hopefully it's not an opposite thing. I don't know. Either way, Notre Dame is better in a lot of categories, and we're better than national champion in a lot of these categories too. Things like turnover margin, defensive red zone, right? Very good. We were in the hundreds last year. Now we're top 10 in both red zone touchdowns on defense and red zone scoring on defense. So fantastic improvement from where we were. Yards per point, what I always talk about, 11.5. Natty champions are 11.9 in that statistic. Pitt's 13. Okay, so they're not terrible, but they're not great either. We're better in rushing attempts per touchdown. We're more efficient scoring rushing touchdowns, and we're much more efficient in passing attempts per touchdown. In fact, Hartman is better than the national champion average, throwing a touchdown every 11.1 attempts, which is good. Which is also good because we're ranked 8th in the country in passing touchdowns. National champions are 8.6 in that statistic. So really good. Pitt's not even close in any of those things. 77th in passing touchdowns, 100th in rushing touchdowns. What's one of these worst ones? Red zone touchdown defense. They're 118th. Really, really bad. So really good for us. We get in the red zone, we're scoring a touchdown. I guarantee it. So it's things like this that make me feel confident and lessen my anxiety with respect to Pitt. Questions, comments, concerns other than team rankings saying Notre Dame has a 92.8% win percentage likely. Hopefully they're right.
Well, a couple of things I wanted to point out, a couple of statistics I wanted to point out is
Go for
that Pittsburgh is 45th in run defense. I mean, in college football, it's really hard to really identify a defense or what was the word that I'm looking for? Identity. Yes, identity of defense, like you can in the NFL. Allowing a $126 on the ground, but then if you go to pass is like all the way down, and like so Sam Hartman just might have a field day. So there's a couple of things that like I look for here. So it's like, for example, if I wanted to do, I'm on NCAA's website. I'm not sure if that's the right one, but like I'm just like searching around here, passing yards allowed. If I really wanted to do that. Pittsburgh is, I'm still scrolling, not in the top 50. Oh, wait, no, 27th.
I have 27th as well.
Yeah. So, like, they do have these few holes. We just need to go in there and just do it from snap number one. Like I said, estimate 20 yards, and then their backs are going to be against the wall because our wide receivers they're going to come back healthy.
Yeah.
My anxiety is going to be don't get too cute looking at how bad their passing defense is that we all of a sudden lose our identity and get pass happy. That no. I'm happy. I love your prediction of the first play 20 yards for Estime. I'm going to stick with the identity that I've said for the last 3 weeks is first series, Estime better be in. They better run the ball 2 of the first 3 plays. And that is the identity of this team. They get cute and they get, okay, let's do some bubble screens. Let's do some wide receiver schemes. Let's do some flats, and start doing these dumb, cutesy things.
Shallow passes that are stupid.
Yeah. we could literally outplay ourselves by playing poorly if we get too cute.
They
Stick with
must
your
not.
identity.
They must not move away from their 11th in the country ranking in terms of passing efficiency. They must not do that. That's the only thing. Like, you have to play like a top college football program in the country. That's it. If you want to win this game and if you want to give your chance to possibly a New Year's Six bowl, then do it. But if you somehow you drop this game, it's over. I mean, like
I agree.
I'm stung about Louisville, but they can claw their way back into like 8th or 7th and try to have like a meaningful bowl game. So.
Oh, I believe so. If Notre Dame runs the table, they should probably get a New Year's Six. I think there's going to be too much chaos above them. It may not happen. You know, it kind of depends on how some of these things shake out. But I mean that's kind of been my hope and desire from the beginning of this season is that Notre Dame would go to a New Year's Six or a playoff or something this season. And that is still, I think, in the cards. Clearly we're bowl eligible, but I want a New Year's Six, so that's where I'm headed.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And Snapper, I want to say you are 100% right. They should do exactly what you said. They can't outthink this. Like you just said, like get to the point where you set up, where you've established the run, set up play action. And if you've done all that and you're well prepared and you do that, they shouldn't lose. But I have seen this team. I've seen a Louisville game. I've seen them try to get too cute and outthink it, and that's the only way that they'll lose. And that's how the game will stay close too, is getting away from your identity.
No complaints.
Just go out there and play football. That's it.
I love it. I love all the 100s that just popped up from everybody.
Is anyone like kind of superstitious that Sam Hartman shaved his beard? Family
Not at all, because he plans to not shave at all for No Shave November. So
is that what it is? It's gonna be a Movember thing.
Yeah,
is a men's health thing.
He may have a full beard by Friday.
You actually might, yeah. Is anyone else going in here going to the Wake Forest game?
Yep.
Because I'll be at that one.
Oh, there we go. I'm going. Adam's going. Red Snapper's going.
Yeah, if you, I might be going.
AJ should be going. The hot dogs are better at Notre Dame Stadium than down in Louisville.
Oh, I know, dude. I know. I haven't gone.
I heard about that. Yeah.
It's messed up. Adam at Colts Fanatic 09. What's up?
damn that right drawer.
That's right. All right, man. Well, if that's all we got here, I think there's not a whole lot going on more we can say tonight. Again, we will be back here Friday night. At least that's the intent. Assuming 5'0" Pod doesn't roll his ass in the door at 11:30 at night. Other than we might not do it, but if we're gonna have a proper podcast here in the studio with 2 mics, 2 boons, one mixer, and 2 glasses of scotch. Well, I don't know if he's a scotch drinker. Maybe I'll have to break him on that one, but we'll find out.
He's in your house.
He drinks Rolling Rock too. But, yeah, I know, but I got to be a good host. I'm not just gonna force something on someone as a guest. Like.
Wait, what do you? If you offer it and it's free, it's a good day.
See, that's the thing. We have options, right? We've got some decent bourbon. We have some Irish whiskey. We have lots of scotch. And I mean, if he wants red wine, I guess we can do red wine.
What type of whiskey do you have?
White girl wasted.
If both of you are there doing the podcast on Friday, you start it with an Irish car bomb.
I like that, even though I don't really do those, but
I could see us doing that.
Absolutely, you got to start it that way.
Oh my god! And then wait, no, you're doing it in the wrong order. Irish car bomb, then drink a scotch. Ew.
Well, then you sip on some bourbon.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be better than. I tend to do bourbon. I do bourbon, Adam, in the spring for the spring game. That's been the tradition now for the past best 4 seasons. So, so we do scotch right now. In the winter when it's like, after the bowl game, but before Lent or whatever, we throw in some Canadian whiskey just to be weird. That's just kind of where we're usually going to the gym at that point too. So, all right, good to talk to everybody tonight. Really appreciate Coach Parsegian, Pello Jace, Mac, Colts Fanatic, Aged Desai, Lynch. You jumped on here, Red Snapper. This is at faithful_Irish on Twitter. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for the podcast. Our Pitt-Parations or Pitt-Parations. I think Pitt-Parations is probably better. Not much else to go out to other than let's go out there and kill it. We'll go out with the old steady here, Celtic chant. Let's go out there. Let's beat Pitt. Notre Dame is favored by 20.5 points. I have my doubts whether that's going to happen, but I also have Pitt TSD. Is that what you're saying? Pitt DSD?
Pitt TSD.
Pitt TSD.
And I'm going to make my prediction as we are going to take the under and the spread. I see them covering the spread with 22 points. So I see us winning 30-3.
Ooh, I'd love that. No complaints here. All right, signing off. See y'all Friday. Have a good one. Go Irish. Beat Panthers.